Alright, we are on the draw here with Chart and Shoal Delver. This hand's a mull. If we had a traverse, this would probably be a keep. As is, we can't cast much. We can play this bauble so far. If we end up with a land in the top 2 cards, well no, it would have to be the top 1, because we don't get to bauble until after we've drawn. And bauble isn't probe. This hand's a keep. Denial probably can go on the bottom. Flooded Strand likely to grab us a steam vent here. The opponent's starting on a basic island while we also drew a steam vent, so we're no longer getting a steam vent. Now it's going to be a breeding pool. We're still going to lead on the Flooded Strand to get the fetch out of our hand for that Visions. Let's see if we can find a threat. Okay. First, we're going to see if we can successfully cast a Serum Visions. Then we'll try to find a threat. Mandrills will do. The opponent with... Okay. They cycled a Striped Riverwinder. And there's the Street Wraith. Alright, it is Living End. Looks like mono blue Living End. Do I want to mill the Hooting Mandrills? Probably not. So the opponent is assumably running As Foretold in order to combo with Living End. I imagine that's why they're cycling. I've heard of mono blue Living End. I've never seen it. I don't think we want to scour away the Mandrills. Don't know if I want to play it right away. Having Mandrills in the bin, not very good for us. I think what we're going to do is scour ourselves. That's going to put 3 cards in the bin, scour in the 2 it mills. Then we'll draw a card. If we draw a 1-mana counterspell, such as, say, Stubborn Denial, then we don't play Mandrills, we just play the Steam Vents. If we don't draw anything that can counter, we're going to play out the Mandrills and hope they don't have Living End. Or hope that they're not playing a combo deck like that. That's another hope we can have. Either way, we would be playing out the Mandrills. Is this a counterspell? It's a Remand. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. We can't scour into anything useful. We could scour while they're tapped out, but that's not the best. Even if we hit a shoal, we're unlikely to be able to counter anything that good, given that we can only shoal for 1 or 2, so I think we're going to pass here. Teleria West. Why would... Oh, they can transmute into Living End because it has a CMC of 0. That makes sense. Okay. This is all consistent with the hypothesis that they're playing Living End. All makes sense. Remand is a little funky, but I can live with that. We turned over a Delver. That could be good. That could be good stuff. Disrupting Shoal. Nothing wrong with that. No counter spells in our graveyard, so I'm not overly excited to Snapcaster Mage. I think we're going to play out the Mandrills, and I imagine we get a Forest. Could have gone for Bauble Scry. Or we leave this Bauble so we could try to transform this Delver. That's interesting. I kind of like having both of these up. Also, don't need much of a graveyard since we don't have Traverse. Might want to keep Tarmogoyf in mind. 1, 2, 3 we've delved, and we paid the 1. I wouldn't mind having just the 1 mana up, and then we delve away the Serum Visions. Probably the Foothills. I think we're more likely to hit another fetch or possibly even see them having a fetch, then we are to hit another sorcery. Pretty sure we're going to give up Snapcaster Mage to stop that. Now, it's entirely possible our opponent is playing some sort of funky control deck. Given that we've seen Mana Leak, we've seen Remand, and we've only seen a couple of cyclers so far, but I do think this looks a lot like a Living End deck that's trying to slow down. Yep, there's the As Foretold. The opponent's probably trying to take it a little slow here, since they're playing As Foretold. They probably don't have as many enablers to get a Living End out. I imagine it's just 4 of these. So they're running counter spells to try to slow us down equally. 1 mana. Yep, that's going to happen. And I imagine we're going to see a Living End here off of As Foretold. There it is. So, do I want to bounce Mandrills or let it die and bounce this Riverwinder? We could bolt the Architects, which means they would just have a Street Wraith, which really isn't that bad for us. I think I'm okay with this. They do have to put the counter. Is it X or less? It is X or less. I'm trying to figure out if they can avoid, if they can cast future Living Ends after As Foretold has a counter on it, and they can. Architects of Will is going to be very troublesome, because I imagine the opponent's going to try to stop us from transforming Delver. I do think we go for the Bauble sooner rather than later, though, because if we have 2 instants or sorceries on top of our deck, and they put 1 card that stops Delver from transforming on top of those, we draw it with the Bauble and then Delver transforms. If we have fewer than 2 instants or sorceries on top of our deck, then Bauble's just going to get us closer to transforming, which is still fine. Bauble essentially does the same thing in the case that Delver won't transform right away, and if Delver would transform off of the 2nd card on top of our deck, Bauble transforms it a turn earlier. Excuse me. We're gonna bounce this. Oh, it has hexproof. Oh dear God. Okay. Then we're gonna bounce Street Wraith. We're in trouble. And the opponent has a 5/5 with hexproof. We are in trouble. Disrupting Shoal on top. We're going to have Bauble go first. Okay. Let's transform. Yes. Draw a Tarmogoyf. That's actually really good. Okay. So we might be able to... Why did they do that? They put Shoal on top, which transforms Delver. We drew Goyf. Is our 3rd card just amazing? Was our deck stacked? I think we attack with this, because if the opponent attacks into Goyf, we can bolt this. Oh, we already have an artifact and a creature in the graveyard. Goyf isn't growing. Okay. That's still probably fine. Delver's going to put them down to 14. We bolt this, we take 5, we go to 9, and then we hit them for 7 twice, which is lethal. We go to 9, they go to 7, we go to 4, they go to 0. I think that's alright. Street Wraith heads back to the bin. This is exciting. Uncharted waters here. I've never even seen this deck. I've only vaguely heard about it. I do remember when As Foretold came out, people tried brewing non-Jund Living End decks just because they could. I don't think much of it stuck, but I mean, we're playing against someone who's doing it. The opponent's thinking, what should we be thinking about here? They're doing stuff. They're doing a lot of stuff. Oh, they could be hard casting things. That's pretty good. Curator of Mysteries is pretty good here. So what do we do at this point? We only have the one red source. So if we're thinking about potentially drawing a burn spell, we should get this bolt out of our hand at our earliest convenience. However, this is kind of a bad spot for us since they got this flyer. If they didn't have this, we'd be in a great spot. As is, the opponent's going to slowly make land drops and play their fatties. Maybe not this one because it costs 7, but they're not that far away. 2 lands. They can cast Curator of Mysteries for days. If we bolt this, we make future living ends slightly better for the opponent. Bolting face doesn't seem that good, though. We have 1 Snapcaster Mage left in the deck. We haven't seen any bolts yet, besides the one in hand. So we do have 3 bolts and a Tarfire in the deck, as far as the burn plan is concerned. How good is them having Architects of Will? Would I rather deal 3 or get rid of the Architects? Is there an instant? There is an instant in the graveyard. It's that land that we delved that's biting us right now. Okay. I think we're going to clear out this. Pretty soon the opponent's going to be able to remand for free, which is going to be quite troublesome. Alright, what do we got? Perilous Voyage. Well, I understand at least to some extent why they didn't want us to draw that. Pretty sure we bounce the Curator and we get in for 3. Really wish we could have bounced this at any point. If I knew we were drawing Perilous Voyage, I probably would have been slightly more likely to just bolt face. The opponent would be at 6 right now. It's a lot better for us than 9. Curator's gonna come back down. The opponent now has Remand and Mana Leak up for free. Not sure why they're not attacking with this. I guess they want to play it safe, which kind of makes sense. I imagine their late game's a little bit better than ours, given that they have 5/5 hexproofs. Once Goyf gets a little bigger, we can start getting in with that, which will be quite nice because they're going to have to double block to get rid of it. They cycle, which means they get to scry 1. Yep. That's not bad. We can Denial Living End, which is great. If we had triple blue, we could Denial and Shoal Living End, which is even better. That way we can counter it through a Remand or a Mana Leak. As is, we can only cast 1 of those counter spells. The opponent with 6 lands in play. Not looking good for us. Not looking good for us. I think they just want to take it slow. I feel like that's good for them. They also might just have a post-combat second Curator of Mysteries. Or we're going to see a Living End here post-combat. Okay, this transmutes for as foretold. That makes sense. We can't counter it. It's an 0-5 flyer. That's going to be a huge pain. And a Curator of Mysteries. Oh, yeah. This looks like we are out of it. What do we got? Best card ever. I had Gross Tarmogoyf. We swing with Goyf. Assuming they decide to just chump. We chump block something with Delver, and then we go down... Oh, no, that's lethal. No, we would chump block this, take 8. We have to fetch. I don't hate this line. It gives us a chance. If we sit back, we're dead. So we're going to go for the chance. Probably should have fetched after attacking so that they didn't know for a fact that we had a 5-6. We're going to do that. See if they want to give up something to get rid of it. Yeah, we definitely don't fetch there right away. Because there is a chance that the opponent just screws up their block. Blocks our 4-5 with their 5-5. We fetch and then we just blow them out. Okay. I mean, it's extremely unlikely we win this way anyways. But there's something of a chance maybe. Whereas if we do nothing, we're just going to die in probably 2 turns for sure. They swing with the team. We block something. I guess they can't swing with this. Cryptic Command for free is pretty cool. I must say, I like the idea of free Cryptic Commands. This is a very cool deck. Remand. I assume they're remanding Cryptic. Yes, they are. They can actually cast it again, too. Yeah, that's going to do it. Denial is going to fizzle. The opponent is going to Cryptic the Aberration once more. And we're not shoaling that. This time, okay, or not. They can hardcast it. I guess they want to play around us having another counter. Just swing with a couple Curators, maybe? Just one Curator? It's also possible we're supposed to wait on attacking with Goyf now that it's a 5-6 because they can't swing profitably with the Riverwinder. But they get to swing with both of these every turn, which is pretty bad for us. Now, we still have a Simic Charm in our deck. So I'm considering the possibility that we take 4, go down to 5, we draw Simic Charm. They have Cryptic up, though, so they can just counter whatever we draw, which means nothing matters at this point. Trying to figure out if we have a top deck that wins us the match here. Sorry, the game. Very much still in the match. Bobble, look at their top card, I guess. Teleria West, cool. They could Living End again. I imagine they don't want to. I guess it doesn't really matter. End step, tap your team. No, not yet maybe. They can still cast Cryptic on our turn off of As Foretold, because it's once each turn, which includes ours, which makes it quite nice with counter spells. Looks like they're holding on to that Cryptic to be safe, which makes sense. They're going to use the counter spell before we draw our card. Probably. Cryptic, bounce, goif. The other mode I imagine is tap. Other mode is draw. Flooded Strand, not gonna do it. Don't think there's much that keeps us alive here. Probably just Simic Charm to bounce the Riverwinder. We chump a Curator, and then we go to 1 off of the other Curator. Not that that gets us through the game, though. Alright, how do we sideboard against Mono Blue Living End? Threat Density. Blood Moon seems awful. Dismember. Flash Freeze is bad. Oh dear. Okay. So that's bad, and that's bad because they're too restrictive. The only artifacts I believe they play are Architects of Will. I will board in this Revelry because we could blow up an As Foretold, which might be great. Don't think I want Sweeper effects. Don't think I want Blood Moon because almost all of their lands are basic islands. This isn't going to hit much because their threats have pretty high CMCs. We might want the Mountain, and I could see wanting the Huntmaster for threat density. So, what are we gonna do? What comes out? A non-zero amount of bolt effects because they're not very good. Thought Scour is going to be almost essential. I could live with cutting a Spell Snare. It's going to hit their counter spells, not much else. What are we actually looking to shoal? Counter spells, basically? I don't think they have much besides counters that are shoalable. Maybe we're pretty unlikely to hit As Foretold with it. What can we hit out of Living End? We can show Living End for 2 mana, but that's not fantastic. I think their deck is mostly As Foretold, Cyclers, and counter spells to slow the game down. So, besides countering counters, Shoal isn't going to do much. Perilous Voyage isn't the worst. It's not fantastic. Never gonna let us scry. Well, almost never. Do I want the Mountain? I feel like that's not really where we want to be. Maybe 1 Huntmaster. Maybe we just cut these shoals altogether. Go for this kind of plan. I don't feel like this is great, though, because we want to play a tempo game against them. But at the same time, well, I guess we have Nux, so we're kind of going beefy enough. But is 1 shoal really that good? We don't even have that much that pitches to it. I just don't think Shoal is going to be very good in the matchup. Huntmaster might not be great either, but Shoal doesn't look very good. This is a keep. Gonna get some quick pressure down. Hopefully get even more pressure down with that Mandrills. We might hold on to it. Wait for a Living End. We have plenty of lands here. The opponent deciding whether or not they want to mulligan. Looks like Land Delver Bauble go. Seems like a good idea. So, do we overextend Mandrills into a Living End? I guess that at least somewhat is dependent on what we mill off of Thought Scour. If we turn over a bunch of creatures, then maybe we don't mind a Living End happening. If we draw into a great counter spell, we're almost certainly willing to overextend at least a little bit. In order to Living End on turn 3, they have to go As Foretold Living End, which means they're tapped out, and they use their As Foretold. Not to mention, unless they have a 0 mana a 0 CMC counterspell. They can't counter anything off of As Foretold right away anyways. So there's that. Let's take a look at what we're going to draw, see if we can help this Delver out. Help Delver help us. Huntmaster on top. Delver's trigger is going to hit the stack first. Let's draw a Huntmaster. That'll be good eventually. Delver's going to look at a breeding pool. We're not going to reveal that one. I am considering Thought Scouring it. We won't be able to cast Mandrills anyways, though. It is probably worth scouring that away, just because we're likely enough to hit our 4th land by the time Huntmaster is castable. This lets us get 2 chances at drawing something better. Tarmogoyf is certainly better. Well, we can't cast anything yet, but next turn we can do some good stuff. Not sure I want to play Delver into Delver and Tarmogoyf into a potential living end, but I'll at least consider it. They're going to cycle. They take 1. Would have preferred them taking 3, but I can live with it. Yeah, we're just going to play 1 threat out. Mana Leak. Now I kind of don't want to play any threats out. Now I almost wish I had a breeding pool. I do wish I had a breeding pool, because then we could play Delver and hold up Mana Leak. As is, we only have 1 blue source, and Tarmogoyf costs 2 mana, which means either of these threats doesn't allow us to cast Mana Leak. We are in a pretty good spot as is, so I don't even mind sitting back on my heels, especially because they have counter magic of their own up, which means we cast Tarmogoyf, they can remand it if they so choose, and then try to combo off, which would be pretty bad for us. They're going to transmute a Tolaria West, find a living end. Unfortunately, we can't counter that. Not sure we would if we could. Destructive Revelry. That's interesting. Get in for another 3. I do want to apply more pressure, but unfortunately we can't, which kind of makes me feel like maybe we should have just drawn the breeding pool. That would give us access to more blue, but we didn't have Mana Leak at the time, and we actually didn't draw the Mana Leak until, well, we milled this, we milled this, we drew this for turn, and then Mana Leak was on top. So we waited quite a few cards. If they have an As Foretold here, I think we let it resolve, then we counter the living end, and then on our turn we would Revelry the As Foretold to get both combo pieces out of their hand. That way they need 2 more, 1 of each. Are we gonna... Okay, we don't have to discard yet. Pretty soon we will. The opponent's got Cryptic Command up as well, which is definitely notable. Cryptic, bounce Aberration. Oh, bounce Island on our end step. Oh, jeez. That's brutal. I think we're going to counter this. We can't blow up the As Foretold before they get to cast Living End anyways. So it's not like holding up Revelry is that good here. Chances are the opponent's going to Living End and get a nice juicy board, but at least we can start slamming our threats following that. At least we're going to hope to slam some threats. The opponent's going to have 2 more mana up after going As Foretold Living End. They are at 8, however, and that's pretty low. Delver did a lot of work here. Lot of work. They're going to get a decent board. We're going to start off with a Delver of Secrets. They might have the counter. I want to start with Delver because if they do have the counter, I'd rather they counter this than Tarmogoyf. Delver's the bait. Given the way they paused on Delver, it did look like they had a counter, so maybe we play out Mandrills first, before the Tarmogoyf. That, however, delves our graveyard. I guess I should have just looked at how much delving we could profitably do. Now, how badly do I want a chump block? 3, 12 damage? I don't hate taking 12. I don't like taking 12. I do like the idea of Delver getting in for some damage, though. What do we got? It's a Chart course. That isn't bad. Question is, do I want to attack here? We're kind of low on life. The opponent's board looks pretty good. Think I'm going to cast another Tarmogoyf. We only have the one green source, so waiting for counters doesn't seem that good, although in all likelihood the opponent probably has a billion counters in their hand. We're going to play this Delver of Secrets. If this resolves, we can attack. That's bad. We can no longer attack because we have to chump something to survive. We're going to have to chump this Riverwinder. I think the opponent took this. I like Counterspell Living End. That's actually really cool. They have to wait a little longer to go off. They're slower for sure. But that was quite fantastic. We're going to block this, get an extra turn, and we're probably just dead at this point. The opponent gets to sit back, Cryptic Command. I mean, to be fair, we had exactly one blue source, exactly one green source, and we drew exactly one counterspell this game. So it's not like we had much to work with, but Cryptic Command into As Foretold into Living End did its job. What do we want to do here? We're just dead. So does it matter what we cast? I mean, it really doesn't. They have 5 cards, so I imagine they still have a bunch of counters. Oh, they're letting that resolve. That's fine. I mean, we're just dead. There's no card we could have. Definitely not one that we play. Maybe something we don't play could theoretically get us out of this, but we're pretty dead. Hopefully you all enjoyed that video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.